Good afternoon and welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for joining us. It is 12 o'clock on the East Coast, and good morning to those of you on the West Coast, the Mountain Time Zone, and the Central Time Zone as we get ready to see Karoline Leavitt at 1 o'clock. We're going to have that White House press briefing, of course, and then a bit later today, the president will be having an announcement at about 3 o'clock from the White House. So a lot of coverage to get to, a lot of great sponsors to talk about, a lot of wonderful interviews to have as well as we track the latest news topics of the day. And of course, as we hear from the great press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, and then again, President Trump, of course, a bit later. Thanks so much for streaming in with us. Again, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Let's start it out with just within that 24/7 news cycle. We know that President Trump met with the NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte, from the Oval Office just yesterday. So we have a few clips for you. We're going to highlight some of those right now.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine. We've become friends, actually, through the trials and tribulations of everything. Mark Rutte, Secretary General of NATO, highly respected. Every country, almost every country in Europe. I think you can almost take away the almost pretty soon. Yeah. But they all have great respect for the leader, and he is the leader. And we've had some very good discussions today, and things are going along pretty well as regarding Ukraine, Russia. We thought it would be a little bit easier. That's turned out to be tougher than the Middle East. Middle East was supposed to be the tough one, and we solved that puzzle, but this one will get solved also. So I want to just say it's an honor to have you, Mark. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I mean, the question is, bottom line, these are drug boats. If people want to stop seeing drug boats blow up, stop sending drugs to the United States.
But does it matter if it's in the United States?
Well, these are all in international waters.
The boat do a strike in the United States, or if North America?
Well, that's a different. With hostilities in mind, which includes flooding our country with dangerous, deadly drugs, and they're going to be stopped, and that's what's happening. And in the case last week, you saw there was a submarine. It was a submarine. It was a submersible. That's a drug boat all the way through. We know what these boats are. The president just said it. We tracked them from the very beginning. We know who's on them, who they are, where they're coming from, what they have on them. You know, if you're running drug boats, you're in grave danger.
This is a national security problem. They killed 300,000 people last year. These drugs coming in. They killed 300,000 Americans last year, and that gives you legal authority. We have a national security, really, I will say this. When you look at the people we're dealing with, and we know them, we know the people coming in, we know the boats, we know everything else. We're allowed to do it. It's in international waters. If we don't do it, we're going to lose hundreds of thousands of people. Now, they'll be coming in by land a little bit more because they're not coming in by boat anymore. There are no boats in the water. There are no more boats. We know the boat almost immediately. You know, it's pretty unusual when you see somebody with a fishing rod and 5 engines on the back of the boat. You know, you don't need that to go fishing. Wait. And we will hit them very hard when they come in by land. And they haven't experienced that yet, but now we're totally prepared to do that. Well, I think it's a shame that it's shut down because we have the greatest economy, as you were saying before. We have the greatest economy in the world right now, by far, the United States. We have almost 18, now it was 17, now it's $18 trillion being poured into our country, and it's no time for shutdowns. I don't think it's affecting what we're doing, but it's too bad for a lot of people. We have a lot of good people that aren't working right now that should be, and it's because the Democrats want to try and renegotiate a deal that they had negotiated. They want $1.5 trillion given to illegal immigrants who came into the country, and it's going to hurt the health care of citizens of our country that have been paying into it, that have been working hard for it, that really deserve it. So we're never going to do that. It's not going to happen. And I will tell you, there are a lot of good Democrats that really want to make a deal. And I think all we need is 5 Democrats because we have great support on the Republican side. So I think we need 5 Democrats, and there are a lot of them that want to make a deal. So I think at some point, common sense will prevail.
Common sense, always a great policy foundation to have when it comes to decision making for our country. Let's bring in John Strand with the America's Frontline Doctors. And of course, A J6 prisoner who is now free. Thank God for that. And we're seeing all of these things. What, the 274 FBI agents involved? I mean, it's a you know what show, isn't it, John?
Yes, sir, Matthew. Thank you for having me on as always. And the continued revelations of the shenanigans, the corruption, tyranny. This is tyranny that we've been experiencing very, very severely since the COVID era, and in various ways it's continued and branched out. Now we have all these subversive, confusing messages about anti-Semitism and hatred against Israel. We have these no kings protests. By the way, what's the one thing that a king doesn't allow? Oh, yeah, that's right, a no kings protest. So the left continues to sort of debunk their own nonsense as they go along. I'm amazed at how many posts on social media in the last few days, almost from every Democrat leftist source I can imagine, all screaming about President Trump destroying the White House as he's literally renovating it, all on private donor dollars, by the way, through his leadership and vision to make the White House even more beautiful and amazing. So the Democrats are just unhinged and angry that President Trump and MAGA patriotic Americans are uniting to take back and preserve and improve our country. And they seem to hate it.
And you know what's interesting about it, John? The majority of the percentage of people are MAGA patriots on the right side of history. We're not talking about, 60% of the country. It's north of 60, possibly north of 70, that are not these leftists that are so extreme out there. Again, just simply indoctrinated. Isn't that right, John?
Absolutely. And like you said, many of them may not identify or call themselves MAGA or even Republicans. That's fine. Those are labels and they're generally confusing anyway. But you started out by saying common sense, right? I think we have a strong majority of Americans in this country, well north of 60%, that believe in common sense, and they know it when they see it. So they can see what's going on around us in terms of President Trump as an administration getting back to common sense. Proof is in the pudding and showing us the results of common sense policies. He shut the border on day one, and within 100 days had really solved the border crisis issue and set forth a template for how to actually defend national sovereignty. Crime goes down, economy goes up. These things are basic. They're not overly complicated. But of course, there are various groups of people who either don't understand and are being exploited by bad actors who do understand and are sowing division and propaganda for their own subversive ends. So it's always a danger. It's continuing to happen, and we have to continue to identify it. Some
people are probably watching this interview right now, and thank you guys for watching right now. This is John Strand once again, talking about these percentages. When we said 60% or well north of 60%, let's be real, it's probably 70, 80%. That's probably what people are saying out there, because we know that the media acts like the leftist extremists are a lot larger than they really are. Isn't that interesting? So my question to you, John, is how much attention should we give these leftist extremists, even though there's a few that are in Washington when it comes to the Congress and that kind of thing? But we do talk about it a lot, and it's not even that big of a percentage of people. So isn't that interesting, though?
It is. I get your point. I think it's very smart to note this, but it's a very important thing to consider. What is the lay of the land here in terms of Americans as a citizenry and people's perspectives and opinions and the overarching or overwhelming narratives that are being presented? So I would agree with you that the general common sense and even somewhat conservative group of Americans is well over 50% and maybe over 60. But there are many, many, many Americans who identify or believe themselves to be aligned with what we call the Democratic Party, which is increasingly more difficult to align with in good conscience. It's literally the party of death and destruction, as we've seen in some very specific and egregious ways. But the fact that people generally would agree on basic common sense things does not mean that our enemies in the opposition are very, very small. The narrative is manufactured in a very dishonest way. However, there are many, many people that are falling prey to that narrative and believe in various aspects of it. And so we need to be very engaged. We need to understand that the problems that we are facing as common sense Americans who have a desire to preserve and defend Judeo-Christian values and the constitutional rule of law, We believe in that. We know it's important to preserve it, but it doesn't preserve itself, and it is under attack. And it's under attack, you could say, by a few fringe leftist factions, but they incorporate many, many other citizens who, whether knowingly or not, are unfortunately what we call useful idiots in some of these very dangerous programs and objectives.
Exactly. Great point. The institutions, it's all about getting rid of corruption throughout government. It's also within the deep state or globalists, those that have broken the law. When there's receipts, there's evidence, and we're seeing indictments start to trickle in. Haven't seen a seditious conspiracy indictment yet, which many are calling for. Your thoughts about that for moving forward and saving our nation outside of this great golden age we have with President Trump? What happens in 2029 if, for heaven forbid, we have someone on the left that's in the White House, and if we don't take care of business when it comes to those that have broken the law, that are really pulling the strings, trying to squash all the freedoms and all of that?
Right. So back to what you said earlier, that people can understand the left yells really loud, but they're really a minority. And they are. At this point, the left is a very radical, violent, fringe, terrible minority that needs to be called out for what it is. But we absolutely must not be confused or deluded into thinking that that means we're all good, we're the good guys, we have the majority, so we're going to win. Victory is not guaranteed by anything other than the future's only what you fight to make it, is what I like to say. So that applies to every single one of us as Americans. This is our country, it is our government by consent of the governed, and that only works when we educate ourselves, we invest and engage, and when we hold up our end of the bargain. Every one of us has an obligation and a duty as a citizen to do and know and believe and defend certain things. So we need to be talking about what those are. We need to be unifying to the most degree that we can. And we need to understand that 2026 is our generation's 1776. I really believe that, Matthew. This is a turning point moment. And of course, I use that phrase on purpose, with the great legacy of Charlie Kirk awakening our eyes and our hearts in a way that we have not seen in generations. But the fact that we have an opportunity does not guarantee victory. It only means we have an opportunity to do our part. And so I'm urging everyone to join me in that mission coming into this 2026 election cycle, as we are about to announce some very exciting things on my end. And many other people throughout the country, I believe, have been inspired by the legacy and mission of Charlie Kirk and understand this is their moment to step into the calling that God has raised them up in this moment to be patriots and reclaim this country. Speaking
of the late, great Charlie Kirk, and speaking of spirituality, just a few days ago was the 1 month point of since September 21st, of course, where the memorial for Charlie was held. And there was this spiritual renewal kind of kickoff moment there. It wasn't just, a nice service for the memory of this great icon of free speech. It was what he believed in. And then the Holy Spirit was moving through that whole audience. I mean, that is something that I think we have to focus on as well and not lose sight of.
I couldn't agree more. I was so honored and grateful to have been present there at that event. And I do not overstate the case when I tell you that was the most powerful and spiritually present experience I have ever been a part of. I was so moved. The entire building was totally saturated with the Holy Spirit and captivated by the presence and the power of God, both the power of his absolute truth and justice, and simultaneously his grace and mercy in the way that those mix together in a way only God can combine them. And those testimonies were so eloquently and powerfully delivered by, of course, Erica Kirk, Charlie's wife, and also Stephen Miller laying down the hammer of biblical righteous justice and how those are parallel. And then, of course, the cabinet, the president speaking eloquently, but the vice president, J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, delivering literally the gospel in clarity and courage. It was an unbelievable moment, and I really do believe it is igniting a turning point for our entire country. Of course, spiritually speaking, that is the foundation and the basis that operates behind all the realms of political and cultural battles. So the spiritual battle is where it starts and ends, and we have to keep that present as we commit to this revival of American liberty.
That is perfectly said, John, perfectly said. And, it's outside of just emotion, because that's just a fruit of the joy of the Lord, the power of God, to your point. is actually different than an emotion. It's his actual presence. As you were mentioning, you've never experienced something like that before. I'm sure you were close to it, though, when you were serving your jail sentence, which was a crock in itself.
Yes.
Let's just rewind that just a little bit. Your thoughts about that's what we need. Our heart cry is for God, even in jail cells or out there in Glendale.
Well, God is near to the brokenhearted, and those difficult times make it clear how much we need Almighty God and His providence. My heart is that we would really seek God both in good times and in tough times. But He does promise us we'll have plenty of tough times, and we know that they'll continue to come. They're all around us now. And yet He's faithful through those to give us the strength and the goodness that we need when we seek Him. So my prayer and my call to America is to really recommit to the promise of America. America's a covenant nation. That's a sacred promise. What is our promise? It's in our national pledge of allegiance. That pledge is a promise. And we pledge that we are giving allegiance to a republic and for which it stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the spiritual aspect of that is enormous. And I'm just very excited for the revival that's happening, the revival of American liberty, both spiritually and politically and culturally. Of course, for far too long, many members of the Christian faith and other faiths and the church at large have seemed to get confused that politics and religion don't mix. This is a very dangerous and destructive lie, something we really need to, again, really be talking about and working out what our faith means in our lives, because it applies to the church, it applies to the town square, it applies to schools and government buildings. The faith is a reality in our life that applies to everything. So we have to continue to carry that conversation and that mission forward.
And finally, do you think there needs to be a lot more indictments to those that have broken the law when it comes to actual receipts and law-breaking evidence?
Oh my goodness, yes. So as it relates to government corruption and weaponized government abuse, which of course I experienced in an unbelievable way, being an innocent American citizen and actually an invited guest at a free speech, First Amendment protected protest, entrapped by nefarious government operations, including FBI involvement, et cetera, was violently assaulted by an FBI SWAT team raid fit for a drug cartel. My life essentially just demolished in shambles. I refused a fraudulent plea because I was innocent and believed God had called me to defend that innocence, was put in prison for it, sentenced to almost 3 years, tormented at length in isolation, served a year, but then got out because, of course, we were granted an amazing victory, complete vindication by the Supreme Court, and then fully exonerated of all charges by the DOJ when they vacated my entire case. So my story there is an unbelievable testimony of what can happen when we know what is true, when we commit to believing and acting on that truth, and we rely on God for the strength to carry us through all the distance. So we've gone the distance there, but the battle continues and the next round is here, Matthew. So again, my call is, you've seen or heard a testimony of what I've gone through, and I believe all of us are capable of great and mighty things if we seek God, rely on Him, and then execute what He's called us to do with courage and with faithfulness.
To your point, Jesus said it Himself that we would face trouble in this earth, but don't fear. He says, I have overcome the world. So He's
Amen.
overcome the world. You're an overcomer. So am I. Everybody is when it comes to whatever challenges you may have faced in your walk. But let's keep on keeping on. John Strand, thank you so much for joining us once again here on Right Side.
Yes, Matthew. And if you would allow me a quick announcement just to let people know, we have a very exciting event coming up on November 4th. That's Tuesday at 6 p.m. November 4th at Seed to Table in Naples, Florida. And you can find that flyer posted on my X at John Strand USA and pinned to the top of my Instagram at John Strand USA. And we would love anyone to come and join General Flynn and some other amazing speakers as we start out the revival of American liberty right here in Freedom Town, USA of Naples, Florida.
That sounds awesome. I've never been to Naples. I'd like to go to something like that. But
please come. Love to have you as our guest.
Definitely. That'd be awesome. All right. Thank you so much, John.
God bless you.
God bless you. You know, that's a great event there. Anybody that's, on the right side of history, speaking conservative values, speaking Christian values, values of faith that are all common sense things, things like God, family, and country. We love all of that, and we want that to continue. Before we get to our next interview, let's go to a couple of our sponsors, including All Family Pharmacy. You may have heard of tirzepatide. It's the GLP-1 peptide, making headlines for fast, effective weight loss. Well, that's one of many biohacking products you can get from our good sponsor, All Family Pharmacy. Because biohacking isn't just a trend, it's about feeling and performing better every day. So more energy, clearer focus, faster recovery, and healthier aging, all by giving your body the right support. So All Family Pharmacy goes beyond your everyday prescriptions with proven science-backed enhancers like NAD+ for energy, focus, and longevity, Samoralin to support better sleep and muscle recovery. How about glutathione for powerful detox and immune protection? There's methylene blue for brain performance and mental clarity. And yes, tirzepatide for weight loss, prescribed by a licensed doctor and shipped right to your door. So if you're ready to take your health to the next level, visit allfamilypharmacy.com/biohacking to get started today and use code RSBN10 to get 10% off your order. All right, it's 12:21. We have one more sponsor before we get to our next great interview. We know that Monetary Gold is having an info kit that they'll send right to you because, 2 banks have already failed in 2025. And with that now $38 trillion in national debt, Monetary Gold says more failures, unfortunately, are on the way. So it's not fear-mongering. It's simply reality. The banking system is built on quicksand, and every new failure threatens depositors, retirement accounts, and pensions. The government can't bail out everyone, and when confidence collapses, so does the system. Monetary Gold tells us not to get trapped holding worthless paper. Give them a call, 888-617-7994 today, or visit rsbnforthegold.com today and secure your wealth with real assets. All right, it's 12:21, Thursday, October 23rd. Thanks so much for streaming in with us. We're going to see Karoline Leavitt in just a bit. In the meantime, let's go to someone we're all familiar with, Silk, of course, of Diamond and Silk. Thank you so much, Silk, for joining us live here on Right Side.
Wow, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's always good to talk with you, Silk, because we speak just, just straight from our heart. And I think it resonates with a lot of the American people out there because really this is, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I want to get your reaction to it, Silk. And it's not a very scientific, wild question. It's very simple. God, family, country, and freedom. And if we look at each of that, God, family, country, and freedom, isn't that what this is all about?
That's what it's always been about. Unfortunately, the devil is real, and the devil comes to kill, steal, and to destroy all that you just described and said. The devil comes to kill. It don't want us to have a God. Okay, that's why it's infiltrating our Christian values right now. The devil don't want us to have a family, something that is very important. That's why it is separating families right now, dividing families, doing different things to stop the reproduction of family. Our country, the devil don't want us to be united as one race, and that's the human race. It want us divided. And freedom, the devil don't want us to know that we are entitled to freedom. That's why it's coming in and calling us a democracy instead of a constitutional republic. Okay, so the devil is real, but you know what? God is also real as well. God, and at the end of the day, God is the one that wins in the end. And people need to recognize that and understand that. God is the answer to all issues that is plaguing this country. And that's why I have my total faith and belief in God.
Amen. And then on top of that, we do things like we pray, we vote, we work hard, we speak truth into darkness or light into darkness like you just did. That was awesome. Mm-hmm. So, we didn't even talk about, various, talking points for this interview, but it was great that you just broke it down on the simplest terms because a lot of times the mainstream media, the leftists, the extremists, they just want to confuse. And isn't that another kind of fruit of the so-called enemy, the devil? Just to get everybody confused and to lie to us. He's the father of lies, as you've said before, as the Bible has said. But let's shift over to some of the work you've been up to, Silk. I know you have your show, and can you give us some of the the highlights of some of the people you've interviewed and some of the things that you've covered recently that have surprised you that you'd like to share with the American people?
Well, certainly. I don't do a lot of interviews like I used to. I actually just basically speak my truth and give my opinions about the status of what's happening in our country today. What has really surprised me, I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm surprised by it because I know that people have their own minds. It's just a matter of them realizing that they can think for themselves. So with people having a great awakening to all of the different things that they've been lied to about, with them having a great awakening to realizing that they've been bamboozled, especially by the liberal ideology, and people saying, you know what? I remember when the Diamond and Silk, when they first came out, I called them all of these different names and different things, and now I realize what those ladies was trying to say when they said get off the Democrat plantation. They was talking about the ideology, the mindset of thinking that you have to wait on somebody to hand you some crumbs and you'll be okay. They realized that they had their own mind, that they can think for themselves. They had their own mouth, that they can speak for themselves, and that President Trump is a president for all, not just for some, but for all. And so I speak to whatever is going on in our country, and I give it to them from a common sense point of view, in layman's terms, in the lowest terms. I don't speak those big old words that a lot of people want to speak and I can't have pronounced, Matthew.
Yeah.
I speak it directly from a common sense point of view so people can understand exactly what's coming out of the words that's coming out of my mouth.
Exactly. Directly from you, Silk, through your experiences, through your upbringing, through your next levels that you've accomplished in life. And,
yes.
Silk, I was just thinking while you're talking, I'm like, Silk, you would never be on a CNN or something. They wouldn't want you.
No, they don't. When they realized, look, we was on with Don Lemon, early on. And when they realized that they could not get us in that gotcha moment, they did not want us on.
There's no way, Silk. There's no way you and your late sister would have been able to get the gotcha. And that's what I'm saying right now. There's no way, Silk, because I remember watching our coverage during the campaign season, and you and Christina Loren were live at a rally, and man, Silk, you just went with it. You just went with it. And it's like, that's what I think the people want across this country. Actually, anybody that loves freedom, whether it's in our country or across the world, they want people that tell it like it is. They don't want someone trying to tell them what to say. But if what you're already saying is on the right side of history and common sense, why would somebody interfere with that? But yeah, so there's no way anybody really. I can't even think of very many networks that would want to have you on, except for in conservative media. Hence, here you are.
Well, yeah, and to be honest with you, there's only certain media that I would even go on
Same
and
here.
grace my presence with. I stopped going on a lot of the liberal stations because I realized my value is too great to be on those stations that wants to play game. I don't have time to play games. It's not about playing games. Life is too short to be around here playing games.
That's so good.
With people. And just one more thing, if I can just also include, they had this, what they call a No Kings Day. Okay. I call it a DPAA Day, the Dems Protesting Against America Day. Okay. Because we voted for President Donald J. Trump. President Trump is doing exactly what we want him to do. And for the Democrats to talk about no king, you don't have to be a king in order to keep your word. And that's what President Donald J. Trump is doing. And if they are so concerned about a king, then what they need to do is set term limits so they can get on out of office, because they've been up there for a very, very long time pushing all of these issues. And another aspect that I don't hear these Democrats talking about is Jim Crow Joe Biden, the one that was actually the dictator in chief, the one that actually mandated for people to put poison into their bodies in order to work, in order to be part of society. Just looking at these people, calling themselves protesting and not realizing what you're doing is really truly an insurrection, because you're trying to come up against the government, which is President Donald J. Trump, and you are protesting against what? What? You're inciting violence against what? A lot of those people that's out there, Matt, they didn't even know what they were out there for. They was old, dried up looking white liberal women, okay, with a professional sign that was bought and paid for, paid protesting against what? They don't even know what they're protesting about. And if they really, really, truly, I'm going to just leave you with this point. If they really, really, truly was a concern about a king, what about their queens that they have over there, these men who feel like they're women and they call themselves queens? Maybe we need to protest against their queens, because that is to me is nothing but straight up demonicism that they are infiltrating and indoctrinating our society and our children with, and that should be an abomination. Well, it is an abomination against God.
It's so true. And so just want to end with this point. I was speaking with my wife the other day, and she brought up the point. She goes, you know, those drag story hours for kids, why do they not do that really for the senior citizens as much? Why are they always trying to get the youth, right? They know what they're doing. They're trying to indoctrinate. We see it. The people are awake, and we know that we're on the right side of history. Silk, you're awesome. And also, Silk, at 2:45, I know you'll be joining us once again in the next live stream. So we look forward to hearing from you once again there, Silk.
Most definitely. Look to see you then. God bless.
God bless you. Thank you, Silk. All right, it's the bottom of the hour, 12:31 Eastern Time, Thursday, October 23rd. Looking live there at the White House. Of course, we're going to see Karoline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, in about 29 minutes or so. If it's a little bit delayed, we'll be here for you. Plenty of interviews, plenty of live videos, and recorded videos within the 24/7 news cycle to share with you, and also some great sponsors, including callsheet.com/RSBN. All you have to do is download the app, or you can go to the QR code that you see right there on your screen, or go to that website, callsheet.com/RSBN. So there's all these topics out there, right? Weather, sports, science, all sorts of stuff. And you can bet, trade, or just check out the polls if you'd like. So a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, more than 1 million users nationwide. That number's growing. And doing well there with Angel Paste. And of course, you see the New York City mayoral election, which is coming up in 10, 12 days from now. We'll see how that one pans out. We know who we don't want in office in New York City, Mr. Mamdani. But anyway, that's my opinion. And I'm sure many of you agree with that. And if you don't, well, hopefully you will someday. All right, so let's go to angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas. You see the great flagship product there, the Miracle Cream. There's also a number of other great products on angelpaste.com. Use the RSBN promo code. That'll get you a percentage off. Always good to use the RSBN promo code, getting the percentage off of these great products, great sponsors, angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas. All right, so we have another interview coming up in just a minute with Bruce Lavelle, and I believe he is here and live right now. So let's go to Bruce. Of course, Atlanta businessman, friend of President Trump, a senior advisor over the years as well. Bruce, your thoughts about the President of the United States and how things are going right now in the U.S. of A.
Well, thanks for having me, Matt. I can tell you it feels a lot better than it did in 2017. You know, I think, unfortunately, we had to, and we still battle other networks and fake news out there, don't get me wrong, but I think it's gotten to a point where they pretty much use everything they can, obviously, for what President Trump's been through. So I remember how distracting it was in the first year of his presidency on trying to get just basic things done, you know, trying to get past the silliness. So to your point, to this point here where we're at now, I think we are able to do a lot more and really show what the administration was, you know, very well equipped with, as well as qualified for, without all the craziness and distractions. So just look at the numbers. I always said, pay attention to the numbers, not the noise. So it's not as noisy. It's noisy, but it's not as noisy as the first term, because I think the left is really, you know, in their point, trying to look at President Trump's tenure and trying to figure out, okay, who is going to be our golden child for 2028?
Exactly. And we know that there's a few people out there that they may have in mind, but let's talk about some of the old guard and somewhat new guard. Yesterday, I was watching Hakeem Jeffries at a press conference. I saw Chuck Schumer on the Senate floor. And I just thought to myself, man, these guys just don't have a vibe of joy or anything. It's just, they're just stand there. Like, it's like the people have to see through this, don't they?
Yeah, you would hope so and think so. And I'm prayerful because, the unfortunate part about a voter, they get in their daily routine, they go to work, they come home, provide for their children, and, they taking care of, cutting the grass, all the things we do as Americans to survive. And a lot of them aren't, I guess you say, totally abreast to really what's going on. But I really think that obviously the nature of social media and the instant news, which can come good or bad, unfortunately, with the new social media world, is that I think a lot of folks are starting to pay attention. And the way they pay attention is they look at pocketbooks, they look at the state of safety and security. And the only antidote, Brother Matt, and y'all know this too, is what we call an election. And, we complain and Jasmine Crockett in Texas, AOC, Talib up in Minnesota, and Ilhan Omar, and the list goes on. And I'm like, guys, every 2 years they have to run for office. So the only antidote is to get these folks elected out of office and to get people in there that want to do and be a good steward of the taxpayers' money. And that's the only way we can get out of this. And you have to sift through all the noise and the rhetoric and the craziness. And to your point, it's like Schumer and Hakeem. It's like, my God, are you guys happy about anything?
It's so
do you
true.
have any good news? And what drives them crazy, man, I'm glad you brought this up. There's one thing about when you're wanting to achieve or accomplish something. First, you got to start speaking into existence. And President Trump is one of the best I've ever seen communicator. He comes out of the Oval Office. Yeah, but it's going to be a bill. No, not just a bill, a big, beautiful bill. No, we're going to renovate the White House. It's long overdue. It's crumbling. No, it's going to be grand. It's going to be beautiful. See how they don't have that.
Nope.
You're right, Matt. For God's sake, try it sometimes. You might feel a little better if you just be a little happier.
Well,
to your point.
you know what will happen, Bruce? Then Hakeem and Chuck will turn into conservatives.
Yeah. Drink a glass of Fetterman's juice. Whatever John Fetterman was drinking up there in Pennsylvania, I say go and get you a shot. Yeah, a double.
Yeah. Get a double or a triple, and then mix. Get a smoothie of that, because. And that's the thing. The Democrats are probably like, oh, Senator Fetterman, stop saying these things because you're making common sense. And they hate the truth and they hate common sense.
Yeah, that's true. I think at the end of the day, it's almost like I've always said traveling is your best education, because a lot of times if you see people who are constantly complaining, they've never really experienced any place outside of maybe their own comfort level. And it's almost like, we're not perfect, but I'm telling you, man, I've been around the world, stepped on many continents, many nations. We're not perfect, but we're a heck of a lot better than the majority that's out there. And I just don't think that some of these folks really understand the blessings that we have, the freedom to open up a church, whatever religion you practice, the fact that you might wake up one morning and says, you know what? I want to build a business. Nowhere in the world is better than that, than these United States of America. And the sad part about it is, I think a lot of people have lost their way on the willingness to say, be happy. Like my buddy, that one-hit wonder. Here's a little song I wrote. Note for note, don't worry, be happy.
Right.
And, I'm dating myself, but it's like, my God, guys, come on, calm down.
Yeah.
Can we all just agree on the common sense and say, can we just cheer for the nation? Can we cheer for safety and security? Can we cheer to get crime out of our neighborhoods and area without trying to grandstand and boycott ICE centers or boycott National Guards? Real quick, Matt, I said this on a show one day. I said, to Governor Pritzker up in Illinois, and he was like, we don't want any National Guard. And I said, you know what? If he was walking down the sidewalk and someone attacked him, was choking him, would he say, oh, don't call for that guy, he's National Guard? Or will he get on the phone and call for the police that may take 20 minutes to get
That's
there?
so true.
Or will he be happy that somebody was there to combat or to detract any forms of crime against him or any other citizen. And you're scratching your head like, where is the spirit coming from? Where is it? Is it that dark to worry about, well, he doesn't wear this uniform, he should wear this uniform? I'm like, what difference does it make? Listen, let me tell you something. As a business owner for 30 years, and I talked to a lot of shop owners around the country, and they always tell me, why do they protest? They always have to come downtown, and then they block us out. Our patrons won't come. They make traffic. They make noise. They throw rocks through our window, and we're just trying to serve a sandwich. And you ask yourself, why? And so, I think, Matt, at the end of the day, I really believe that justice will prevail. Justice meaning common sense, the spirit of justice of common sense. And the great news about all of this craziness is the fact that how many people are turning to Christ, how many people are going to church. I see this huge revival going, this movement saying enough's enough. For you see it all going to the NFL, every player that when they win the game, they profess Christ. I mean, it's just like, it's this epidemic, which is a great epidemic. That's the light that I see. Outside of all this doom and gloom, there is light at the end of this tunnel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, it's going down. Come on, be a part of this train. What is that song? Here's another song, Matt. You don't need a ticket. You just get on board.
Yep. It's the truth. It's the truth. And that's what we're seeing.
Curtis Mayfield.
Man, I mean, we could do some karaoke live right now. It's 12:41. Yeah. Go for it, man. Yeah. So, no, I agree with you 100%. And that's what we need. And that's the joy of the Lord to be our strength, according to the Bible. And also, a lot of people that are watching right now, I would think at this point are saying, well, we're glad to see some justice be served, though, when it comes to these indictments as well, moving forward, because we need to really save our country post-President Trump. You got to take care of business if there's receipts and if there's laws that have been broken. Do you agree?
Yeah. It's kind of like my mother. I always like to say she knew the Bible better than any Baptist minister, and everyone would agree with that. A lot of times, as people, we want justification. We want it now, but it's always God's time. And it may not be your time, Matt, my time, whatever, but it's always the Lord's time. And I think until you get into a piece of that, it'll run you crazy about, they did this to me and they did to that. As my mother always said, baby, they didn't get away. Still got to answer to the Lord. So you got to get yourself in a frame of mind to like, okay, that's why the Lord says, vengeance are mine. If they're not yours, they're mine. I got this. You go over there and do what you're supposed to do. I'll take care of this. But it's on his time. And that's why I've learned, because people, especially being out here in the leadership world, people lie on you, talk about you, call you different kind of names. And if you don't have that level of peace and that body of armor, like this network, then you won't survive. And that's the only antidote, is that armor. And that gets you through your day to day. And I speak to everyone that's watching this. It's like, we know what's been done. God's got it. He see it. Don't worry. Just everybody calm down. He got this. It's like my mom, but he blah, 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 blah. He did this. He did that. I said, honey, he still got to answer to the Lord. She'd always say that every night before we go to bed. If someone did us wrong or said something, lied on us, cheated on us, it's like, no, God sees it, honey. He's got it. And that's the only way you're going to get peace, to get through all the silliness and the madness. And politically, business, emotionally, everything you go through with your family. You have Democrats in your family, you got Republicans and all this. Thanksgiving dinner table, everybody's looking around, especially in my house, like, oh, Lord, what's Bruce going to say? I'm like, well, if you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it.
Right.
I still think it's healthy to have healthy dialogue. I'm with Charlie on this. I think that we've always said no politics, in the homes, whatever. No, have a civilized discussion. And if you can't get civilized, then obviously you cut it off and pray for another day that you can have an agree to disagree conversation. Because remember, I've always said, it's kind of like, you go to a park and you see all the guys over there shooting dice and doing drugs over there, and you're playing ball, and your friend said, man, don't go over there. Those guys are blah, 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 and they're doing this. I said, yeah, but how are we going to talk to them about the Lord if we just say that's them over there? And that's how you treat the craziness and the madness to get through it. It's like, okay, all right, I know you're a little out there. I know you believe in this trans stuff. I know you believe in all these things that you and I know spiritually go against the Lord. We have to have that door of grace to at least, as Brother Charlie, who went home to the Lord at 31, would always say, we got to have a dialogue and agree to disagree. We can't shut it down. And we got to practice this, what we preach, man, because it's very easy. I heard you talking to Silk, good sister of mine, in the earlier segment. We actually talked about this too. I don't mind. Matter of fact, I'll be on ABC this evening. I know I'll be on a panel with people going to disagree, but how else am I going to go if I don't get into that opportunity to at least, okay, I hear what you're saying, but just hear me on this right here. It's not Republican. It's not Democrat. It's common sense.
Right.
Let's start there. Forget about these parties and these names, and let's just go to the common sense. Is it fair and safe to have strong borders? Yes.
Right.
Is it fair for boys to say they can run in girls' sports? No. Come on, guys. So we're at the common sense here. Come on now, keep up with me. And I think that's something that we can't identify ourselves as a party, but we got to get back to the spirit of articulating the common sense word. And that's the way I found success when I'm talking to people that actually hate me, because I know the president really well and whatever. And I said, well, you don't hate me, you hate what I'm representing. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, you have to separate yourself to not take it personal.
100%.
That's the way I get by, bro.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it's speaking light into darkness. It's speaking truth versus the lies. And I'll just leave you with this. You were talking about the Thanksgiving dinner table. And one thing I would say maybe to change the subject is just, hey, can you pass the pumpkin pie? You know what I mean? Because, just to change.
I got a song for our Thanksgiving, Matt. Welcome to the jungle.
It can be like that.
Background music.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you might want to play that next time at the house there. Good stuff. Bruce Lavelle, thanks again for joining us here on Right Side.
Always.
I know you've been on with us a lot, and great to have you as a friend of the network.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Bruce Lavelle, of course, friend of President Trump, Atlanta businessman, and also a senior advisor of the president over the years. So it's great to get his insight, his take on things as we're getting ready for another live interview. Before we do go to that, let's go to a couple of our great sponsors, including Cove Pure. You see covepure.com/RSBN. Drink pure, live pure. That is the way to go right there. You remember that water crisis in Flint, Michigan a while back. You'd think that America would have gotten its act together by now on clean drinking water, but we got to think again, because lead and heavy metals are still showing up in city after city, and those pipes running into homes, man, they are old. And really, at the end of the day, I mean, it's pretty simple. Who wants to drink tap water? I don't know how many of you do, but I know it's in the minority. So if you want to have something that takes 99.9% of all the junk, pharmaceutical stuff, all the stuff out of the water, you can get that with Cove Pure right here, covepure.com/RSBN. Let's also go to Chapter right now. For many in our audience, it's a Medicare annual enrollment time. If you're 64 or older, you know what that means. It's nonstop robocalls, junk mail, spam texts from people trying to sell you something. Well, the truth is Medicare is confusing on purpose, and who benefits? Big insurance companies do, and every year they quietly change their plans. Some plans they even drop completely. This leaves millions of Americans stuck on plans that cost too much or cover too little. So even if you're liking your current plan, and you've got to look at even if you like your current plan, you've got to look at the 2026 options. That's where Chapter comes in. It doesn't work for big insurance or the government. They're independent. They're the only advisors who compare every Medicare plan nationwide to find the one that fits your needs and preferences. So you can go to them there, give them a call, 833-438-3359, and let Chapter make your Medicare work for you. All right, so two great sponsors there. A lot of interviews this morning. Usually I'm here blabbing and talking for a while, but either way, glad to have a number of live guests with us today, including Kate Monroe. She's the CEO of VetComs, and she's also the author of Race to Save America. Kate, thanks so much for joining us on Right Side.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Your thoughts about the fake No Kings protest. I just call it fake because I just feel like it right now. I mean, your thoughts about all of that the other day.
Well, I mean, I think the protest is very real, but the outrage is fake. I think that we can all agree on. We even saw them here in San Diego in very wealthy neighborhoods. And I'm thinking, do you not have anything better to do on a sunny afternoon on a Saturday in San Diego than stand out here and hold a bunch of signs for something you don't even really know what it means? You had Cory Booker out showing off and showing out. You also had Nancy Pelosi, who made what we could only think is like a Burger King crown and tore it in half. I mean, the grandstanding never ever escapes these people. But I love that Trump came out to say, "Hey, thanks guys for all the protests. I was worried a king was going to take my job." So if people want to go waste their time doing that and not helping out with homeless, drugs, lawlessness, the border, veterans affairs. I mean, to each their own. I prefer to focus on things that I can affect change on.
Exactly. So let's talk about some of that. Let's talk about maybe the past 5-10 years of your life politically, personally, if you'd like. Just what are the things that really drive you to do things like this? Come on to a conservative network live right now.
Well, I am a conservative. I grew up in a conservative household. I think having gone into the Marine Corps, a lot of military, not all military personnel are conservative, but many are, depending on where they come from in the country. And I'm also a mom of an 8-year-old. So when you put together some patriotism, some parenthood, and you mix it up and shake it all about, you end up with somebody who's going to go and get stuff done. And so about, I think 2.5 years ago, I started running for Congress, and people would say, "Hey, the border's open. That's great. But what are you going to do about it?" And I thought, well, what am I going to do? Like, what is this one lady going to do? And that's when I got the razor wire, went down to the border, create the border vets, and I think I just sort of went viral around the world for doing something. I think it was a novel idea. Oh, hey, you can get on Amazon and get a box of razor wire and go close up your own piece of the border. And so I think things like that just taught me that, if you're willing to step up and step out and stand in the gap, others will follow you. And it was just really interesting to me to see all the love that poured in. And then I think when you help veterans, we've helped 19,000 veterans get their disability compensation for $7 billion in lifetime income. And you just hear story after story after story every single day. It just wells up in you and you can't really help yourself. I'm just one of those people. I'm not going to sit idly by while we go quietly into the night. I cannot do it. I would encourage others to as well. If the only thing you can do is go vote, at least go do that. Not everybody's tasked to do what I do, but you can do something, I think, is a good message.
It's 100% the truth. And it's simple. You made a common sense move. You said, I'm going to get this razor wire. I'm going to go put it at the border. And I think the left or the media, they don't want anybody to think for themselves, right? They just want you to listen to me. I'm the news anchor. You listen to what I say, right?
Correct. And I think a lot of what you hear on the news, especially since there's a big dichotomy between the left and the right news. I mean, you could pull up any topic and then listen to the rhetoric on both sides and go, which is the truth? I mean, imagine if it was your first time watching the news and you just happened on, you'd go, is everyone lying? Like, what is going on? I think it's meant to just create a circus like they did back in Rome when they had the gladiators. It was so that they can do a bunch of things that they want to do while we're all worried about a bunch of fake news, quite frankly. I mean, I don't understand why it's such huge news that we want to make America safer. If anything, it should just be good news. Look at us. We're making the whole country safer. But instead, it's, Trump is a king and trying to do what? I don't know. He's trying to keep you safe. I don't really understand.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome point. And that, again, is telling it like it is. It's the common sense that we, the people, the majority of this country, and people around the world that love freedom want to hear things that you just said. It's very simple. It makes sense. It's the 1 + 1 = 2 in conservative media, but it's 1 + 1 = 9 million in the mainstream media, isn't it?
Well, it's just like, it really, with any kind of argument, people always want to lean toward their feelings and not toward the facts. And the facts support that what we are doing currently with this administration is working around the globe, not just to keep more peace, but to also just get the economies of all the other world's powers in line. But somehow that fact that it is working well can be misconstrued into someone's feelings on the matter. I've always said it's sort of like when you look at the Bible, 1 + 1 is 2. It's not 3. It's not 5. Not everything's open for discussion. Some things just are. The sky is blue. It's not green. It's not black unless it's at nighttime, but it's still blue, really. So I don't really understand where people get so lost and swept away in their feelings. And I have to think part of it is this new day and age where we have access to social media and people want to feel heard and recognized and have all their feelings justified. It's ridiculous. It's shallow and it's very selfish.
It is 100%. Last question before I let you go. First of all, thank you for spending the time with us here on Right Side. The question has to do with law and order and justice being served.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop there. I won't even ask the question. I'll just say, what would you say about law and order and justice being served to save this country?
I think it's high time. I can't believe we took so long to realize, oh yeah, we have a citizen military that could just go into a city, provide backup for our police force. And with almost immediacy, you can cut down on crime, provide people more cover and safety. I absolutely love it. I'm here for it. I don't understand who isn't. If you're not here for it, do you not have kids? Or do you not care about you and all the rest of the people in the country? You're so committed to your lunacy and your TDS that you can't see the forest for the trees. I don't get it. So more of that, more to come. I love as much law and order as we can get.
Amen to that. Kate Monroe, CEO of VetComs, author of Race to Save America. And that's what this is all about, saving this country. Kate, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so it's approaching the top of the hour, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, Thursday, October 23rd. Looking forward to seeing the great White House Press Secretary, Karoline Leavitt. And to those of you that have maybe newborns or infants, my wife and I, we have a 1-year-old. She was up pretty much a lot last night. We're trying to sleep train her at this point. Not easy to do. Didn't get a lot of sleep, but you know what? It's all right. We're here and glad to bring you this live coverage as it's approaching the 1 o'clock hour. Let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. This is RSBN Live, and I'm Matthew Alvarez.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit Crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live Show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks for streaming in with us, getting ready to see the White House press briefing there with Karoline Leavitt. And again, I've said this before, but I'll say it again, right before that press briefing starts, the White House Office of Communications, the staff, Karoline Leavitt, they all pray. And then she goes out there and shares the truth with the American people. So it's great to see that. And if there's ever anything that's not true, we'll know. It's common sense stuff that we're looking for here in this country. We want to see our country saved. We remember when Karoline was out there a few months back with Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, and they're the ones that said that there were people that were trying to subvert the will of the American people in 2020, and that there would be these charges against people like James Comey and others. So we don't forget about all of that happened to our country. And there's a laundry list of people, just telling it like it is, that have done wrong in our country. We've heard that from President Trump. We've heard that from others. So we're going to monitor what happens here at the network as it's just about 1 o'clock Eastern time. That is the scheduled start time for the press briefing. If it's a little bit delayed, we have plenty to go through here at the network. And then on top of that, at 3 o'clock Eastern on another live stream broadcast, I'll be hosting that one as well. The president is expected to make an announcement from the state dining room. So we'll hear from Karoline, we'll hear from the president, two great people that are really doing awesome for our country. All right, let's, speaking of the White House and the president, let's go to some highlights from the president's meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte from the Oval Office just yesterday.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine. We've become friends, actually, through the trials and tribulations of everything. Mark Rutte, Secretary General of NATO, highly respected. Every country, almost every country in Europe. I think you can almost take away the almost pretty soon. No. But they all have great respect for the leader, and he is the leader. And we've had some very good discussions today, and things are going along pretty well as regarding Ukraine, Russia. We thought it would be a little bit easier. That's turned out to be tougher than the Middle East. The Middle East was supposed to be the tough one, and we've solved that puzzle, but this one will get solved also. So I want to just say it's an honor to have you, Mark. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I mean, the question is, bottom line, these are drug boats. If people want to stop seeing drug boats blow up, stop sending drugs to the United States.
But does it matter if it's in the United States?
Well, these are all in international waters. The boat.
Do a strike in the United States, or if North America?
Well, that's a different matter. Now you're talking about a law enforcement matter. In this particular case, there are people traveling on international waters headed towards the United States with hostilities in mind, which includes flooding our country with dangerous, deadly drugs, and they're going to be stopped. And that's what's happening. And in the case last week, you saw there was a submarine. It was a submarine. It was a submersible. That's a drug boat all the way through. We know what these boats are. The president just said it. We tracked them from the very beginning. We know who's on them, who they are, where they're coming from, what they have on them. You know, if you're running drug boats, you're in grave danger.
This is a national security problem. They killed 300,000 people last year. Drugs. These drugs coming in. They killed 300,000 Americans last year, and that gives you legal authority. We have a national security, really, I will say this, when you look at the people we're dealing with, and we know them, we know the people coming in, we know the boats, we know everything else, we're allowed to do it. It's in international waters. If we don't do it, we're going to lose hundreds of thousands of people. Now, they'll be coming in by land a little bit more because they're not coming in by boat anymore. There are no boats in the water. There are no more boats. We know the boat almost immediately. You know, it's pretty unusual when you see somebody with a fishing rod and 5 engines on the back of the boat. You know, you don't need that to go fishing. Wait. And we will hit them very hard when they come in by land. And they haven't experienced that yet, but now we're totally prepared to do that. Well, I think it's a shame that it's shut down because we have the greatest economy, as you were saying before. We have the greatest economy in the world right now, by far, the United States. We have almost 18, now it was 17, now it's $18 trillion being poured into our country, and it's no time for shutdowns. I don't think it's affecting what we're doing, but it's too bad for a lot of people. We have a lot of good people that aren't working right now that should be, and it's because the Democrats want to try and renegotiate a deal that they had negotiated. They want $1.5 trillion given to illegal immigrants who came into the country, and it's going to hurt the health care of citizens of our country that have been paying into it, that have been working hard for it, that really deserve it. So we're never going to do that. It's not going to happen. And I will tell you, there are a lot of good Democrats that really want to make a deal. And I think all we need is 5 Democrats because we have a great support on the Republican side. So I think we need 5 Democrats. And there are a lot of them that want to make a deal. So I think at some point, common sense will prevail.
And of course, the president just yesterday with the NATO Secretary General as we await the White House press briefing there. Before we get to one of our sponsors, a quick shout out to some of the great work being done out there by James O'Keefe, Nick Shirley, Alex Jones, Katie Daviscourt, Mike Lindell, and many others that are just doing awesome work for this country, for freedom. And pretty much anyone who's standing on the right side of history, including those of us in conservative media. Gen Z journalism is going to the new level that we're seeing, including from the tvOS content creator, Bo Diddle, who will be joining us at about 1:30 Eastern. If we're in the press conference at that time, we'll record that interview and air it in our next broadcast. But just a shout out because, I've worked in media for 20 some odd years now. Mainstream media, started out in college and all that. I've seen a lot, and it's great to be on the right side of history with all of you guys. Honestly, genuinely, thank God for that. And thank God for all of these sponsors as well. Let's go with one of our great sponsors here, Perplexity. I have a quick question for you. How much time do you spend every day on a web browser? How much time do you spend clicking around online, searching, scrolling, typing endless tabs? Well, as you guys know, it's a lot. Well, there's a new AI web browser from Perplexity. It's called Comet, and I've used it before. It's completely changing the way you're able to interact with your browser. So using Comet feels more like having a personal assistant living in your web browser than it can actually do things across the internet for you instead of just give you answers. You can ask Comet to handle tasks for you. Literally, it clicks, types, searches, and scrolls just like you would to get things done for you in the background while you go about your day. And Comet can shop for you. They can make reservations, book travel, summarize articles or videos, send emails, schedule meetings, and a lot more to make your life easier. So all you have to do is download the app or go to the website right there. You see at the bottom of your screen, it's pplx.ai/RSBN. And you can go now and take back your time online with Perplexity and Comet right there. As it's 1:06 Eastern, let's go to one more sponsor here, All Family Pharmacy. We'll be also interviewing the owner of All Family Pharmacy in the next broadcast at about 2:30 Eastern. That next broadcast will have the president in it, of course, with the announcement from the White House. You may have heard of tirzepatide. It's the GLP-1 peptide making headlines for fast, effective weight loss. And that's just one of many biohacking products you can get from our good sponsor, All Family Pharmacy, because biohacking isn't just a trend. It's about feeling and performing better every day. So more energy, clearer focus, faster recovery, and healthier aging, all by giving your body the right support. So All Family Pharmacy goes beyond your everyday prescriptions with proven science-backed enhancers like NAD+ for energy, focus, and longevity, Sermorelin to support better sleep and muscle recovery, glutathione for powerful detox and immune protection. How about methylene blue for brain performance and mental clarity? And yes, there is tirzepatide for weight loss prescribed by a licensed doctor and shipped right to your door. So if you're ready to take your health to the next level, all you have to do is visit allfamilypharmacy.com/biohacking to get started today and use code RSBN10 to get 10% off your order. All right, it's 1:07 Eastern time. Thanks again for joining us wherever you're watching, East Coast, Central Time Zone, Mountain Time Zone, West Coast, Hawaii, Alaska, other countries around the world. In some cases, we've seen that as well here at Right Side. Pretty cool to see that as we are live right now. And just a genuine side note, those of you that have watched RSBN since 2015 and all of those rallies, all of the people that we have spoken to, some of you that are watching have been on our network before. Thank you guys for watching. This is about freedom. This is about God, family, country, and freedom. And that's why we do what we do. So thank you for real for watching here on Right Side. In the media, we have a phrase we use sometimes, MOS, which means a man on the street. I remember working as a local reporter. It's like, just go get MOS. Say there's a story that happens, and a lot of times there's some great things that people say on these MOSs. Sometimes they're very funny things. You might watch maybe on Rumble or YouTube and seen somebody talk about something and it's pretty hilarious. But these two guys that I ran into just yesterday locally in Alabama are local workers. We got to talking because one of them had a Jesus Saved My Life sweatshirt on. It was on the back of his hoodie. So I said, you know what? Hey, nice shirt. He said, thanks. And I said, well, you want to do an interview? And that's kind of how I am sometimes. I'm, like talking to people and stuff. That's what I do. And so I interviewed two of these guys. We talked about Jesus. We talked about the late, great Charlie Kirk. We talked about President Trump and the mainstream media. Why don't you check it out?
He was a good man of God, too, at the end of the day. He had his way that a lot of people didn't like, but at the end of the day, he wanted people to get their souls saved, too. So I ain't got no real, I ain't got no hate for him.
What are your thoughts about Donald Trump?
Okay, well, this is my thoughts on this. God put everybody in their position for a reason. I feel like he was put in the position because God wanted him in the position. I don't know what the reason was. It ain't my decision to make the reason. But he was put in that high position of power for a reason, and we can't do nothing but trust God with it now.
The world we live in, unfortunately, where trying to find news on an outside source, it's 9 times out of 10 going to be fake. Especially if it's coming from a biased source, it's going to be skewed. Unless I'm listening to it live while it's happening, there could be the same video with 10 different words coming out of someone's mouth.
And to his point, this is exactly why RSBN and conservative media, we show the speeches in its entirety. And sometimes we go to various clips, but it's because it already aired on our air or we posted it. So he's talking about media. We had a longer conversation outside of that. And yeah, for those two Gen Zers, they're confused with, okay, where do I find news? Where do I find what's true? There's so much going on. That's why there's that whole thing called the noise, right? There's so much noise. Where's the truth? Well, I mean, here's the thing. Truth is absolute. And that's not what liberals believe. That's not what some of the country believes. But this phone right here, this is a black case. This is not a red case, not a white case. It's true that's true, right? So anyway, the point is the common sense of just our freedom that we have in this country and, trusting in those news sources that do speak and resonate with truth, right? And that's the train we're on here, the truth train. So glad to be a part of it. Glad you're with us as we continue to cover this great White House, where I saw yesterday a guy by the name of Josh on Truth Social. I believe he actually works at Truth Social. There was a rendering of the White House, and it showed the Trump Golden Tower at the east, on the east side of the White House, just to kind of a big, to the left-wing media, because they're, oh my gosh, you're messing with the White House. How many presidents have renovated or improved it? And so President Trump's improving it by having a ballroom there. Anyway, the Trump Tower, Golden Trump Tower, maybe one that, I remember my wife and I were at one of them in not only New York, but also in Las Vegas. It's this beautiful photo. If you want to check it out, it's at Matthew Alvarez or I think it's Josh. You can check it out. It's just funny to see, cool to see. I don't even know why I'm sharing that with you, but I am. Let's shift gears. It's 1/12, Thursday, October 23rd. Let's go to the Department of Homeland Security. They have a pretty cool video that was posted about an hour or two ago. So let's go to that.
We are now in the process of defeating the radical left.
These are people that want to destroy our country. We're not going to let it happen.
All right, so that video from our government, from Department of Homeland Security on their X page, just showing that to you. This was posted probably about, an hour and a half ago, so just brought it to your attention too. And you guys, most of you that are watching already agree with what's going on there when it comes to those that have already broken the law by coming into the country illegally. And then a lot of times there's a criminal illegal alien aspect to it. So it's like a double crime. So there's nothing wrong with the mass deportation operation, which was number 2 out of 20 on the 20 core promises to the American people. You know, it's something that we all voted for. It's not a crime to do something that's good. That's what the left's trying to say. But anyway, all right. So 114. Let's go to a couple of our sponsors as we await Karoline Leavitt there. Let's go to Monetary Gold. 2 banks have unfortunately already failed in 2025, and with that now $38 trillion in national debt, Monetary Gold says more failures, unfortunately, are on the way. And it's not fear-mongering. It's unfortunately reality. The banking system is built on quicksand, and every new failure threatens depositors, retirement accounts, and pensions. And the government can't bail out everyone. And when confidence collapses, so does the system. So Monetary Gold tells us not to get trapped holding worthless paper, but just give them a call, 888-617-7994. Also go to RSBN4thegold.com today and secure your wealth with real assets. We'll also have the interview with David Schroeder of Monetary Gold. Robert McNeely conducted that interview. We'll be airing that in our next broadcast prior to President Trump's announcement from the White House. And then let's now go to mypillow.com/RSBN. The great Mike Lindell going through a few things. He's trying to make sure that he has the money to appeal a recent court ruling. That's by October 27th. But in the meantime, you could also support Mike and his efforts through buying his products. mypillow.com/RSBN. A ton of great products on there. And we actually interviewed Mike earlier. So we're going to air that interview, possibly in this broadcast, but definitely in the next one as we await the president in that second broadcast a bit later today, which I believe starts at 2 o'clock. Director, is that right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, 2 o'clock we'll be starting our next broadcast. That all depends also on when the conclusion of the press conference is with Karoline Leavitt. So thanks for sticking with us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right. It is 1:16, Thursday, October 23rd. Our next interview will be with Bo Diddle. He's a TPUSA content creator. Before we get to that, this is a chance for you to donate to the network if you'd like. And, you know, if you really love RSBN, and not just what RSBN is now, but what RSBN is since 2015, a grassroots company, now an actual news company that brings you all of these live events and reports and interviews and all of that. If you like it, you love it. And if you want some more of it, go ahead and text RSBN to 801-801. Also, rsbnetwork.com/donate. All of the money goes toward all of this and what you see there at the White House and any expansion in the future. So thanks again for donating to the network. And those of you that send in monthly checks, thanks again for doing that as well. Let's go to that address for you. You can mail us cash or a check. You can do that to a P.O. box. So it's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. All right, we're approaching 20 minutes after 1 o'clock. So what we'll do now, if I think Bo Diddle is going to join us at about 1:30. In the meantime, why don't we go to Mike Lindell? Part 1 of our interview. We'll air part 2 in the next broadcast. Now, part 1 is a lengthy interview, but we're going to be standing by here, of course, as we await Karoline Leavitt. If the interview gets cut off and we go to Karoline, we'll air the rest of the interview in the next broadcast. It's a lot of words right there. 1:17, Thursday, October 23rd. Let's go to the great Mike Lindell. And joining us now is none other than the great Mike Lindell. Mike, thanks so much for joining us on Right Side.
Thanks for having me on.
Definitely. Let's talk about, get right to it, October 27th. We've been seeing it on social media. We've been seeing it on your network. Tell us about that deadline, that appeal deadline.
Yeah, this is the Smartmatic lawsuit against MyPillow and myself. And a judge ruled in Minnesota that we were both guilty of defamation without even going to jury trial. And what this would set a precedence for is if you're a company like MyPillow and one of your employees, that's all I am as an employee. There's over 60 stockholders, and if one of your employees is out saying something or out there with his free speech, you could be held liable according to this with defamation. The judge basically said, they're guilty guilty by association, vicariously liable. And that's the term, vicariously liable is what they said. Now, the other side is even worse. Well, that's bad enough, but the other one's even worse. If this would hold, if I don't appeal it, it goes to jury trial and they just decide, did I do it in maliciously and how much money do I owe? And if I let that happen, it changes everything. You would never be able to question a government private contractor again without the threat of being sued. Just like we've said about these machine companies. Hey, pointing to them, say, hey, let's see what's inside there. I got problems with this. Maybe they're defective. I tried every angle known to man and been sued for it a lot with this lawfare. Over 150 people were sued or sent threatening letters in. And I'm the last holdout because I'm never settling. And we can't. And this appeal it has to be in by October 27th. I've been trying to raise funds for it. We're about halfway there. It's mypillowtrial.com. And this is critical. We've come this far. And Matt, this is just on the heels of 2 weeks ago, the Smartmatic whistleblower came out and said, here's all these things that they've done. And then, as you see, they've been charged. They've been charged with bribery and all kinds of things. All the evidence I had the last 3.5 years or 4.5 years is finally coming out publicly, and they're going to get their and you would think that, hey, in light of this should be dropped immediately. That's not how it works.
Exactly. So this is an amazing case because, to your point, a government contractor. Now, if this was a private company, maybe they'd have a case, but it's a government contractor. Right. That's the key point, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely, you guys. I've been questioning these voting machine companies, and they've been questioned all the way back for 20 years. The Democrats questioned them in the movie Kill Chain in 2018. These are government contractors. We pay everybody. We pay for these machines to steal our elections. Come on. This is ridiculous. You see our great president just last night, he got on there. He says, hey, we're going to be doing an executive order to get rid of mail-in voting in this country. And he said the machines got to go too. And remember, 132 countries have banned electronic voting machines. They've done that for a reason. The last one was Argentina. They switched over in 4 months and broke the Netherlands record for getting rid of the machines. And over 100 countries have banned mail-in voting. We're trying so hard to secure elections, but yet I'm still fighting on a level. Remember too, Matt, I was also part of Arctic Frost, if everybody knows what that is. Arctic Frost was a government attack, everybody, starting in 2022, with the first one being MyPillow and MyPillow banks when we were debanked. It's a government, that was a code name, Arctic Frost, by the DOJ, the FBI, the IRS, all these entities to attack 92 entities. 7 of them are senators, so you're getting it's in the news a little bit there. And then one of them, of course, was our President, Donald Trump.
It's wild to see that. It's still wild to see the fact that in 4 days you have this appeal deadline, raising money to appeal. And then from there, again, the implications of free speech, to your point, and you're bringing up something that's factual. Mike, we know it. We've seen it. You have the evidence. You have the receipts. And now even that company's getting, charged from our government.
Charged.
So this is a prime time to have you on right now.
Yeah. I mean, this is everything. You would think, like that movie, My Cousin Vinny, in light of the new evidence, case dismissed, right? If everyone's seen that movie, when this came out, it's very suspicious too that all of a sudden this summary judgment gets ruled on, and then 5 days later, all the stuff comes out about Smartmatic, how corrupt they are. And it's not just the people within Smartmatic, the whole company got charged. The whole company's charged. Goes back to Venezuela, like I've been telling everybody all along. I met with the Venezuela underground in January of 2021. They all had tears in their eyes. They said, never give up, Mike. Please never give up. Our country was taken from us in the early 2000s, like 2002. This is like the genesis of with Smartmatic, going back to the owners and when it was formed and all these things that these machines. Even if you had a company, I want to say this too, if you had a company like this is going on to now with Dominion, Dominion sold another, is this coincidence? 3 weeks ago, they sold to a company called Liberty Vote. Mega, a Republican, a conservative. You'd think the whole media would be going crazy, going, hey, Donald Trump's going to control our elections now. Instead, here's what the guy said. I bought Dominion, and I'm having them drop all the lawsuits against Mike Lindell, MyPillow, Rudy Giuliani, all these other companies. Well, that's a lie, everybody. They haven't dropped it against Mike Lindell and MyPillow. Maybe others they have, but they haven't dropped it against me, because there's a difference between dropping it and settling. I will never settle. So if you want to drop it, Liberty Vote, then go drop it. You said you would. Great, good on your thing. But I will tell everybody this. There is no secure voting machines, period.
On top of that, what's it like to have the leader of the free world, your friend and our president, Donald Trump, posting about the fact that no more mail-in ballots, no more machines?
Right.
That's pretty powerful stuff right there to get his attention as well.
Yeah, well, Kim and I have been working on this for, it's been 4.5 years. You know, he never backed down. You know, you had me over here saying, get rid of the machines, melt them down and turn them into prison bars. And you had our great president over here the last 4.5 years saying, hey, we need to get to paper ballots hand counted. We're both saying the same thing. But, you know, and he said last night how secure. You realize the paper now is more secure than money. And the systems we've come up with in this country that we came up with, my teams, there's 3 different hand counting systems now. After we did our due diligence with France, Germany, UK, Netherlands, took all of those practices and put them together. We now have the best in the world, but we just got to use them. I have great news, Matt. I'm going to announce it on your show here. We have many counties that we use paper ballots hand counted in the United States in the 2024 election, but none of them were big. Well, just a couple weeks ago, Dallas County in Texas voted to get rid of the machines and go to paper ballots hand counting in the upcoming primary at the end of February. Now, why is this important? This is huge because it's going to have a prototype that, hey, it can be done in big counties too. Everything they have said, oh, it's going to cost more. The president said that last night. No, it's 10 times cheaper. It saves the counties. It saves us taxpayers money. But more importantly, it saves our country. This is huge news.
And speaking of that, Poland has already done that. At their recent elections, they didn't use any machines. It was all paper ballots. It was 21 million people voted. They had the election results in 8 hours. So if a country can do it, a county can do it, and we can do it. What's the website again for people if they want to send you money for this appeal deadline?
Yeah, it's mypillowtrial.com, everybody. Mypillowtrial.com. You can get the information there. If you want to, everybody too, you can go to any social media site and look up my name, Mike Lindell, @Real Mike Lindell. I don't care if it's Getter, Gab, True Social, Vocal, X, Facebook, all of them. I have them all posted there because this is so critical to our country. And if you can't afford anything, just share it. Share. We're at a deadline here, and I want to thank you for having me on with this because it's critical. This isn't just about Mike Lindell and MyPillow. We're at the finish line or coming to the finish line, and we're trying to crawl across that finish line. We're on the offense, you guys. I've always said this from the beginning. Remember, back in the day, I shouted out, sue me, Dominion, sue me, because I had all the evidence. I had all the evidence, and now it's all coming out. Well, people are, these guys, for the reason I'm still getting attacked, because I believe I'm the #1 threat to them to get to paper ballots hand counted. And everything comes from our elections, everything. If we don't secure our elections, everybody, by these midterms, we could lose the House, they could steal it, and you know what? Everything could be in vain. Everything could be gone in an instant, as fast as our great president is saving, securing everything and saving our country for future generations. So it's critical.
The president has your ear. We, the people, the majority of the country, hear you, and that's why you're on here again on Right Side Broadcasting Network. You were talking about MyPillow a little bit earlier. Let's talk about MyPillow right now with some of the sales and the promo code, of course, RSBN promo code.
Yeah, you guys, if you really want to help yourself and help my employee-owned company, remember, My Pillow has just been decimated, attacked more than any company in the history of the world. And my employees every day, by your audience having their back, promo code RSBN, you can go to mypillow.com. You can even go /RSBN. But we're having a sale that's I think we have a couple of days left in it. It's a 3-in-1 sale. Our flagship My Towels 6-piece sets, $39.98 for the 6-piece set. These towels work. I developed them. They're absolutely amazing, and I helped develop them. Then we have our flagship My Pillow premiums. We ran out of the this limited edition, but we're going to continue running it and substituting our best pillow ever made, where we sold over 85 million. Get this, everybody, $17.98 for the Queen, $19.98 for the King with that promo code RSBN, lowest price in history. And the last thing I want to tell you is these we will be running out within a few days, I believe, maybe within this week. And this is our My Pillow Percale sheets. We're closing them out, the whole line, $29.88. Any size, any color, even kings, queens, split kings. These are wholesale prices. And then also, if there's free shipping options available, and if you get our mattress toppers, our mattresses made in the USA, those ship for free right to your front door. I mean, it's so we're having our biggest sale ever. But the reason we're doing this, we're also making this lawsuit against My Pillow. We're trying to raise money there too, not just for that, but also to buy our products. Remember, we've been debanked by our own government, debanked a couple of years ago. So we don't have credit. We have to pay cash for everything, and that's so you have to turn one product to the next. But then we've been canceled by all the box stores. So you guys out there, you reap the benefits. There's nobody in between, and use that promo code RSBN, and I can't thank you all enough.
mypillow.com/RSBN. The great Mike Lindell leading the way for us when it comes to secure elections. Thank God again that President Trump is talking with Mike about all of this stuff too. So Mike, again, Thank you so much for joining us on Right Side.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you all. God bless.
God bless you. All right, so that's part one of the interview with Mike Lindell. The second part will air in the next broadcast as we get ready to hear from President Trump in that second broadcast. I am hearing that 3 p.m. announcement from the state dining room is that the president will host a roundtable with law enforcement and administration officials to discuss the successes of Homeland Security task forces. So once again, a roundtable with law enforcement and administrative officials to discuss the successes of Homeland Security task forces. So that will be the main angle for that next live stream broadcast from the White House. In the meantime, as we await Karoline Leavitt, let's go to All Family Pharmacy. You may have heard of tirzepatide. It's the GLP-1 peptide making headlines for fast, effective weight loss. Well, that's one of many biohacking products you can get from our good sponsor, All Family Pharmacy, because biohacking isn't just a trend, it's about feeling and performing better every day. More energy, clearer focus, faster recovery, and healthier aging, all by giving your body the right support. So All Family Pharmacy goes beyond your everyday prescriptions with proven science-backed enhancers. And we'll get to this in just a second. Let's go to Karoline Leavitt.
President Trump's upcoming trip to Asia. Tomorrow night at 11 p.m., the president will depart the White House to fly to Malaysia, where he will arrive on Sunday morning local time. It's a long flight. President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of Malaysia in the afternoon, and then he will attend the ASEAN Leaders Working Dinner that evening. On Monday morning local time, the president will fly to Tokyo. Tuesday morning local time, President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with the new Prime Minister of Japan. On Wednesday morning local time, the president will fly to Busan, where he will participate in a bilateral meeting with the President of the Republic of Korea, deliver keynote remarks at the APEC CEO luncheon, and then participate in a U.S. APEC Leaders Working Dinner. On Thursday morning local time, President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with President Xi of the People's Republic of China before departing to return home to Washington, D.C. On Thursday night, upon arrival in Washington, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump will participate in Halloween at the White House, where they will welcome law enforcement, military, and foster families. And I know many of us look forward to that. In other news, we are now on day 23 of the Democrat government shutdown. Senate Democrats have voted 12 separate times now to keep the government closed. Innocent Americans are suffering every day as a result. More than 500,000 civilian federal employees will miss a full paycheck tomorrow. Thousands of small business loans are going unapproved each month. This means almost $4 billion in capital is being withheld from small businesses across the country. The Democrat shutdown is also causing severe impacts at airports across the country. In one single day this week, the FAA had to issue ground stops impacting flights at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport and Hobby Airport. 13,000 air traffic controllers who ensure that we all fly safely are continuing to work without pay. This is egregious and truly sad. Some of them are reportedly being forced to turn to driving for Uber and taking on other second jobs to make ends meet as the Democrats continue to shut down the government. Pilots are calling on Democrats to end this dangerous political game. The president of the Southwest Airlines Pilot Association called for the clean continuing resolution to be passed, saying, quote, "Our air traffic controllers and the broader air traffic system are already operating under immense pressure. A government shutdown only compounds that stress and threatens the efficiency of our skies." The Airline Pilots Association International, which represents more than 80,000 pilots, is sounding the alarm as well. They said this shutdown is undermining our system's safety. Resources are stretched thin, negotiations are delayed, and strain grows daily. With the Thanksgiving holiday approaching, we are nearing the busiest travel period of the entire year, when millions of Americans will go to airports to spend time with their loved ones. Let us be very clear from the White House today. If the Democrats continue to keep the government closed, we fear there will be significant flight delays, disruptions, and cancellations in major airports across the country this holiday season. If Democrats continue to shut down the government, they will also be shutting down American air travel. The White House is in constant communication with the air traffic controllers, with the airline associations, and with them, we urge Democrats to please pass the continuing resolution so we can just end this madness and this chaos and reopen the government. These are very avoidable consequences. The unnecessary pain, unfortunately, does not end there. Funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP, which provides food benefits to low-income families, is beginning to lapse this week in some states. If Americans hostage, there will not be enough funds to provide SNAP benefits for more than 40 million Americans on November 1st. That is next week. Democrats are solely responsible for all of this unnecessary pain. Why are they doing it? To give taxpayer-funded health care benefits to illegal aliens, some of whom are violent criminals. During the 4 years of Joe Biden's administration, the Democrats forced Border Patrol to admit illegal aliens into our country with no legal status and minimal screening. A significant number of these individuals are the worst of the worst criminals: rapists, pedophiles, murderers, and even members of the terrorist watch list. Despite having no legal status, paroled aliens were able to file for work authorization, receive Social Security numbers, and access other benefits like Medicaid that are meant for Americans. Since I've found many in this room to repeatedly deny the reality that Democrats gave Medicaid benefits to illegals, and they continue to seek to do just that, I've brought a few verified examples for you today. These are examples of some of the illegals who received Medicaid benefits under President Biden's leadership, and this is what Democrats are wanting to do. This is why they are continuing to keep the government closed. An illegal alien from Laos was arrested for murder, robbery, and felony possession of a firearm. An illegal alien from Guatemala who was arrested for rape and burglary. An illegal alien from El Salvador who was arrested for strangulation, DUI, and burglary. An illegal alien from Mexico who was arrested for attempted murder. The Democrats' open border policies allowed these threats into our country, and then they provided them with free health care. The president and the Republicans, through the One Big Beautiful Bill, implemented a common sense reform to end this fraudulent scheme. But that's why the Democrats are continuing to shut down the federal government. They are trying to reverse this and restore taxpayer-funded health care for illegal aliens like these. Throughout this shutdown, Democrats have said this quiet part out loud. Senator Chuck Schumer, the leader of the caucus that is refusing to open the government, said, quote, "Every day gets better as the shutdown continues." Ask the air traffic controllers if every day is getting better, Senator Schumer, and they will tell you absolutely not. House Democrat Catherine Clark said, "There are going to be families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility seriously, but this is one of the few leverage points that we have." Here is a House Democrat who is admitting that they are using Americans who are suffering as political leverage. And Senator Bernie Sanders said, "If you reopen the government, we lose our leverage." This is pure partisan games. A senior Democrat aide said the party will not end the shutdown, quote, "short of planes falling out of the sky." That is truly a disturbing statement. The Democrats clearly don't care about this suffering. They care about playing political games against President Trump, and this dangerous charade needs to end. The president, in Republicans' position, has been clear and unchanged. Pass a clean, nonpartisan funding bill to reopen the government. And then we can talk about all of the partisan issues that the Democrats wish to. If you're watching at home, we urge you to call your Democrat senators and tell them to put our country over their party and reopen the government today. Here in our new media seat, we have Brittany Gibson of Axios. Brittany, why don't you start us off for our Q&A today? Thank you for being here.
Two questions, if I may, Caroline. First is, we understand that the president, Republicans, will not negotiate on ACA extensions. If and when that happens, what does the president think should be, or what are his plans for preventing rising healthcare costs for Americans?
It's a very good question, and I'll leave that to the president to negotiate that when Democrats vote to reopen the government. When it comes to lowering healthcare costs, the president is deeply committed to this. It's why he has spent so much time and effort negotiating with Big Pharma to lower the healthcare costs of prescription drugs. All of you have been in the Oval Office for multiple different announcements. We've had these most favored nations deals with these large pharmaceutical companies committing to lowering drug costs in this country. So it's something the president wants to do. And Brittany, one more point. I'll just point out the irony in Democrats holding the government and the American public hostage over a healthcare system that they created. The healthcare system was called Obamacare. Why? Because Democrats and President Obama implemented. And Republicans have always said it's a broken system, yes, but they caused it, and now they want to shut down the government to fix it. We need to open the government, and then we can have these very important conversations about health care.
And the second, on H-1Bs and foreign students, during the campaign, President Trump said he wanted to make it easier for foreign students to work at U.S. companies, staple a green card to every diploma. But the changes from several agencies now on H-1Bs are adding more obstacles to that. The administration is being sued over those changes. Can you explain the changes in the president's thinking on H-1Bs?
The administration will fight these lawsuits in court. The president's main priority has always been to put American workers first and also to strengthen our visa system. We know for far too long the H-1B visa system has been spammed with fraud, basically, and that's driven down American wages. So the president wants to refine this system, which is part of the reason he implemented these new policies. These actions are lawful, they are necessary, and we'll continue to fight this battle in court. Garrett.
Two questions on different topics, if you'll
Sure.
indulge me. On the pardon of Changpeng Zhao, and apologies if I'm mispronouncing that name, Binance has significant business interests with World Liberty Financial, the president's family's crypto company. How do you respond to the allegations from Democrats that this is a corrupt act?
I would respond and say the president is exercising his constitutional authority to grant clemency requests. And the president and the White House have a very thorough examination of every pardon request that comes to the president's desk. It is thoroughly reviewed by the White House Counsel Office, and I spoke with our great White House counsel about the pardon after it happened. This was an overly prosecuted case by the Biden administration. Even the judge in the case admitted that the Biden administration was pursuing a egregious over-sentencing of this individual, And the previous administration was very hostile to the cryptocurrency industry. So the president wants to correct this overreach of the Biden administration's misjustice, and he exercised his constitutional authority to do so. And to the Democrats, I would just say there's nothing more corrupt than what President Biden did on his way out the door, pardoning his extremely corrupt son and many of his associates.
On the ballroom, first of which will probably be several questions about this today, I imagine.
Is it a big story?
It seems that way. The president's cost estimate has changed several times. I think it's up to $300 million now. Given the nature of all this, will the White House commit to releasing all of the donors and how much they're spending and how much of his own money the president is putting on the line to this?
We have released the full list of donors thus far. Perhaps there will be more people who want to generously contribute to this project. And the president, yes, has committed his own resources. And when he releases that information, which I'm very confident he will, you will all see that.
We'll see a dollar figure from the president?
Yes, you will. And I would also just add the president has been incredibly transparent. I would reject any notion otherwise when it comes to this ballroom project. It's something he personally has obviously taken an interest into and has talked with all of you in this room many times about. You have seen the model in the Oval Office. Last night he showed that for you. But when this plan was presented and when these renderings, as soon as they were complete, the president directed me to come out here and to share them with all of you. I did an entire opening remarks about what this ballroom project was going to look like. With any construction project, there are changes over time as you assess what the project is going to look like, and we'll continue to keep you apprised of all of those changes, but just trust the process. This is going to be a magnificent addition to the White House for many years to come, and it's not costing the taxpayers anything. The president is privately funding this ballroom addition to the White House grounds. Jennifer.
To follow up on that, one thing that's not in the president's model is the East Wing bunker, the president's emergency operations center. Can you say if his update, that $300 million, does that include the cost for upgrading that bunker?
Look, like any security enhancements that are made on the White House grounds, those will be made and maintained by United States Secret Service. As for the cost of the ballroom and the construction itself, all of that is going to be, like I've said, privately funded by the president himself and many generous patriots who have stepped up.
Included in that funding?
Correct.
Okay, and then can you say, well, that's all right, I'll skip that one.
Thanks. Ouija.
Thank you, Karoline. More ballroom questions.
Okay.
So the White House has explained that the reason you didn't submit construction plans to the NCPC is because that commission, along with others, don't have oversight over demolitions, but only over construction. And so far, you haven't built anything. So can you help us understand, can the president tear down anything he wants without oversight? Can he demolish this building or, say, the Jefferson Memorial?
So it's not the president who came up with that legal opinion himself. That's a legal opinion that's been held by the NCPC for many years. It's written, so we can get you that background and that research if you wish to include it in your reporting, because it is very important. They have ruled consistently. Their general counsel has said when it comes to phase one of this project, the tearing down of the current East Wing structure, a submission is not required legally for that. Only for vertical construction will a submission be required, and that's a legal opinion from them, and we are following that legal opinion. And again, I would just add, can any president do such a thing to the White House grounds? There have been many presidents in the past who have made their mark on this beautiful White House complex. This briefing room, as you all know, was not once a briefing room. It was a swimming pool. There have been presidents who have completely torn down the executive mansion. If you look at what President Truman did, some of the photos of the construction project that took place in those years, I think sitting here today, we're all grateful for those efforts and the modifications that happened at that time. And again, in due time, the East Wing is going to be more beautiful and modern than ever before. And in addition, there will be a big, beautiful ballroom that can hold big parties and state visits for generations to come.
So it sounds like the answer is yes, he can tear down whatever he wants. And then secondly, I mean...
Ouija, that's not what we're saying. That's a legal opinion that's been held for many years. And
interpreting it.
No, it's something that presidents have done for years and years. In fact, I have some photos here. Thank you, Pat, to show you the construction that's taken place on the White House grounds. This is the construction of the West Wing in 1902. Look at this, the construction of the West Terrace in 1902. These images look quite similar to what you and the American people are seeing today, the construction of the East Terrace as well. You look at the construction of the West Wing expansion in 1934. So, look, this is a legal opinion that's been held for many years. Look at, this is 1950. It looks a lot like what you were seeing today.
Can he demolish anything he wants?
What do you think that
oversight?
rubble is? How did that rubble get there?
Right, so I'm asking, and then back to the donors.
Go ahead, Reagan.
Many of them are...
Reagan, go ahead.
One on immigration and another on Venezuela. It's being reported that the semi-truck driver suspected of killing the DUI crash is an illegal immigrant who came in under the Biden administration. Do you know if California gave him a commercial driver's license? And then it also appears that California largely has not been cooperating with English proficiency standards. I'm wondering if the administration has any further plans to punish the state.
Yes, I can confirm that California gave this individual a license, and it is something that the Department of Transportation has already looked into. I know Secretary Duffy, who's doing a phenomenal job, has spoken on this many times in the crackdown that the Department of Transportation is taking on these licenses that are wrongfully being issued to people who clearly do not deserve to uphold these positions. As for this case in California, on October 22nd, ICE lodged an immigration detainer for this individual following his arrest by local authorities in California on charges, as you know, of manslaughter while intoxicated and driving under the influence. He killed 3 people, and he first entered the United States in 2022 through the southern border, and he was released into our country by the previous administration. So now ICE has lodged a separate detainer for this individual, and these tragedies are following a disturbing pattern of these criminal illegal aliens being issued commercial vehicle licenses. And so, yes, the Department of Transportation is absolutely cracking down on that. I defer you to them for any specifics.
Venezuela, President Trump has said Maduro doesn't want to mess with the United States, and this administration is continuing to position more military assets towards Venezuela. I'm wondering if the end goal of this narco-terrorist war is to implement a regime change in Venezuela.
The president has spoken on that, Reagan, and I certainly won't get ahead of him. What we've made very clear is that this administration is not going to tolerate international narco-terrorist organizations from trafficking drugs into the United States. And these cartels over time have grown more armed, well-organized, and violent. They have financial means, sophistication, and capabilities needed to operate in the way this administration has. And they have illegally caused the deaths of tens of thousands of American citizens each year. So that's where we are right now with respect to Venezuela, but also any country that is sending purposefully illegal narco-terrorists to the United States of America to bring illegal drugs. Why don't we go in the back?
The U.S. and Colombia relationship right now is at one of its lowest points in decades. We heard what President Gustavo Petro had to say about President Trump. We heard yesterday the response from President Trump. Is there any kind of compromises or gestures from the Colombian president that President Trump would like to see in order to de-escalate the tensions? Is it possible a de-escalation?
I don't think we're seeing de-escalation from the unhinged leader of Colombia right now, and I don't think the president, frankly, is interested in that at this point. He spoke on this yesterday, and I don't have anything to add to his comments. Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden
I'm going
patio,
into the back. Sorry. Go ahead.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden patio, is the president looking at any other renovations or significant kind of projects here at the White House?
Not to my knowledge, no. But he's a builder at heart, clearly. And so his heart and his mind is always churning about how to improve things here on the White House grounds. But at this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority. Kristen.
Last week, President Trump announced that he had a productive call with Vladimir Putin. They scheduled a meeting in Hungary. Since then, he has canceled the meeting and he has imposed sanctions on Russian oil companies. Can you talk about what changed that led to this dramatic shift, or even just what occurred in the last week that got us from point A to point B?
Sure. Look, the always maintained that he would implement sanctions on Russia when he felt it was appropriate and necessary. And yesterday was that day. I think the president has also long expressed his frustration with Vladimir Putin and, frankly, both sides of this war. And he's always said in order to negotiate a good peace deal, both sides need to be interested in a good peace deal. And he feels as though, unfortunately, from the Russian side as of late. He has not seen enough interest and enough action in terms of moving the ball forward towards peace. And so a meeting between these two leaders is not completely off the table. I think the president and the entire administration hopes that one day that can happen again, but we want to make sure that there's a tangible, positive outcome out of that meeting, and that it's a good use of the president's time. Of course, he's traveling to Asia next week. He has a number of events coming up here on the home front as well. He's been incredibly busy, as you all know. You're all tired from covering him and his movements every day, and so we want to make sure it's a good use of the president's time, and the president doesn't want to waste his time, and he said that.
All between the Secretary of State and Lavrov that led President Trump to believe that President Putin or the Russians did not want a peace deal.
That was not the sole reason, no. I think the Secretary Rubio felt that was actually a productive call. But again, the president wants to make sure that a meeting between himself and President Putin will be a good use of his time.
But what exactly led to President Trump not believing after his call on Thursday, where he said he did think he wanted peace and wanted a peace deal, to believing that Russians were not?
Again, the president wants to see action, not just talk. And I think the president is extremely motivated by the success of his peace deal in the Middle East to get things done. And he wants this war to come to an end. He's been saying it now for 9 months being in office, and he's grown increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress from both sides of this war. Mary.
For example, two quick construction questions, if I can. You mentioned any construction project comes with changes. The president had initially said that this project wouldn't interfere with or touch. Now he says to do this properly, he realized that the East Wing had to be demolished. This is the people's house. Why not inform the public of that change and when it was decided that the East Wing would have to be demolished?
Look, again, with any construction project, changes come, and we have informed all of you. We've been keeping you apprised of this project. We've shown you the renderings, and if you look at the renderings, it's very clear the East Wing was going to be modernized. Instead, in fact, I said that in the briefing when we initially introduced this plan to all of you and to the public.
But the East, tearing down are two different things.
Well, again, the plans changed when the president heard counsel from the architects and the construction companies who said that in order for this East Wing to be modern and beautiful for many, many years to come, strong and stable structure, this phase one that we're now in was necessary, and the president wants to do right by the people's house, and so that's exactly what he's doing. It's going to be, again, like I said, much more stable, strong, secure, and more beautiful than ever once it's complete.
And the First Lady's offices, where will those be? The First Lady's offices, the Social Secretary's office in the East, they will be back where they were.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Cattle ranchers who supported the president's election have raised some concerns about plans to import beef from Argentina. How support those farmers?
Look, the president hears those concerns. He addressed them yesterday himself. President loves our ranchers, and our ranchers love our president. And in fact, the president did a lot for them in his first term here. They are struggling because of the many horrible policies of the previous administration. President loves our ranchers, and he also loves American consumers, and he wants to do right by both. So the immediate solution to the problem of the rising cost of beef, president wants to bring that down, as we have to increase our supply. And so that's what he's doing with respect to these imports. But the president also is looking out for our ranchers with a long-term plan that was released by the Secretary of Agriculture yesterday. It's a 3-part plan. It's very extensive and detailed. I would encourage all of you to read through it. But there's really 3 points to this plan that the president has agreed upon and has entrusted Secretary Rollins to implement. Number 1, strengthening U.S. cattle production through increased grazing access, endangered species reforms, enhanced disaster relief, increased access to capital, and reducing costs for new and young ranchers. We want to incentivize more Americans to get into this noble profession. Lowering long-term costs by cutting inspection costs, increasing market options for consumers with product of USA labeling, and ensuring consumers know that they are eating American beef. It's a good incentive for the American consumer. And lastly, growing the domestic herd while boosting long-term demand to reduce prices for consumers while growing the markets for our ranchers. So President hears them. He has to address both of these problems for the ranchers, but also for the American consumer. He promised to lower costs, and that's what he's committed to doing.
Caroline, thank you. 2 questions not on the ballroom. The first is, there's a Democrat in Texas who's actually running for Congress who said last night during an interview when talking about fighting Republicans and this administration, quote, "If you hit me in my face, I'm not going to punch you back in your face. I'm going to go across your neck." This has obviously really upset those folks over at Turning Point USA after the Charlie Kirk assassination. Just your response to that kind of rhetoric.
And I think it's very unacceptable. I hope the people of Texas will do the right thing and reject this person's candidacy. It should have no place in American politics.
And then just a quick second question on oversight Democrats that are saying that they're creating this master ICE tracker, basically tracking all ICE activity. We've seen the protests in New York just yesterday. Homeland Security is saying that this sounds like obstruction of justice. What do you say?
Again, this is actively putting the lives of our ICE agents at risk. We've seen media outlets, in fact, in this room also write stories about ICE tracker apps that Democrats and other left-wing activists have created to track the location of ICE agents on the ground in our communities. Again, I've said this repeatedly and I will continue to say it. The men and women of ICE are outstanding people. I wish a Democrat on Capitol Hill would actually have the courage or the guts to stand up to their party and sit down with some of these men and women who are doing this incredibly difficult our federal immigration laws. They are, again, simply trying to enforce the law and do their jobs. And if Democrats spent a little bit more time understanding that and also focusing on the people who they are trying to get out of our country every single day. As I spoke about earlier, 3 innocent people in California are dead because an illegal alien who Democrats let into this country was wrongfully issued a trucker's driving license and clearly was not fit for the job because he was driving intoxicated and killed 3 innocent people. Democrats should focus a little bit more on that. Stop trying to fight this president and this administration on every turn and restore law and order. That's all that we and these brave men and women of ICE are trying to do. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I have 2 questions, one on San Francisco and one on the No Kings protesters. On San Francisco, the president said that he had a call with the mayor and he was planning on surging there, but now because the mayor really wants to fix it up himself, they're going to do that. Is this what Trump hopes happens in pretty much every city?
The president hopes, and I've said this so many times, and I think the president's conversation with the San Francisco mayor last night and his statement today prove the president is willing to work with anyone across the aisle, across the country, to do the right thing and clean up America's cities. He is genuinely interested in this effort to make our streets safer, to make our cities safe and clean again. And he heard from the mayor last night who told him that he is going to earnestly try to make his city better on his own. The president heard him out. He said, okay, I'll give you a chance. We'll be watching, and if you need us, we are here. And if I feel as though you continue to fail your citizens, the federal government may have to step in. But we'll continue to watch San Francisco, and that law enforcement operation has now been paused.
Thank you. And then on the No Kings protesters, I saw videos of people explicitly calling for violence against Stephen Miller, against the president, shirts saying we don't have enough assassins, calling for more political violence. Does the president want to see arrests here, and are we going to see of these types of explicit calls to violence?
I would think myself, the president, and everyone here at the White House certainly hopes that anyone who is making violent and illegal threats in that way against public officials will be arrested and prosecuted.
Sure.
Thank you. 2 questions. Would the president support the Senate ending the legislative filibuster to end the shutdown?
This is something I haven't heard the president talk about much, so I don't want to speak on him for it. I'll let him answer that question himself.
And do you have an update on the NASA administrator nominee? Do you plan to nominate anyone soon? Or does the president nominate anyone soon?
I'll leave that to the president himself. He'll make a decision in due time, and when he does, you will hear directly from him as you always do. Back, we'll give our friends in the back a chance. Yes.
As you mentioned at the top of the briefing, USDA has warned that it will run out of funds to pay full SNAP benefits next month if the shutdown continues. Senator Hawley is floating a bill that would ensure SNAP benefits are continued to pay during the shutdown. Would the president support such a move? And you also announced that the administration was using tariff revenue to keep WIC going during the shutdown. How long will that last? And is anything similar being considered for SNAP?
Yes, the administration would absolutely support that legislation. We hope that it would come over the finish line. But the bill that will get everyone paid and put everyone back to work is the clean continuing resolution. That's what the president and Republicans want to see. Ed, go ahead, Ed.
Thanks, Caroline. On the Russian sanctions again, how much pressure do you think this sanctioning these 2 Russian companies actually puts on President Putin? Because the last administration sanctioned 2 other oil companies. So how much economic pressure is this really?
A lot. If you read the sanctions and look at them, they're pretty hefty. And I saw some international news out of China this morning that they're scaling back oil purchases from Russia. We know India has done the same at the president. The president has also pushed European countries, our allies, to please stop their purchases of Russian oil as well. So it's full court press for sure, and we expect that these sanctions are going to do harm, as the Secretary of Treasury said yesterday.
Could there be more? Is this just the first step, or could there be more sanctions?
I'll leave that to the president to decide. Sure.
Video or heard the NBA gambling, involved in the gambling issue there. Does the president gamble? What does he think about that?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't think he does. I've been with him quite some time, and I have not seen him gamble before. I don't think he's a big gambler, but you can ask him yourself for next time you have a chance to, Ed. Go ahead.
We'll go to you. Thank you. You're welcome.
Two quick questions. Back to the ballroom. It is a very spectacular ballroom, according to the renderings, and if it's half as nice as the one in Mar-a-Lago, then future presidents are really going to appreciate it.
They will. Thank you, Jake.
First of all, is there like an official name? Like, are we calling it the Trump Ballroom, or does the president have a vision for what the name for the ballroom is going to be?
There will be an official name. I will let the president announce that once he firmly decides on it.
Question is, looking at these renderings, and it kind of got me thinking, he's likely going to go down as the greatest builder of this era, and you've been in on a lot of those meetings with him. Has, to your knowledge, has the subject of rebuilding the Holy Temple in Jerusalem come up?
It has not. No. It has not. I don't. I'm sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
Karoline, on the CC pardon, could this clear the way for Binance to resume U.S. operations?
I won't get ahead of that. That's something for Treasury or the Departments of Commerce to comment on, so you're welcome to ask them.
Right. And then one follow-up question. Any more details on the president's Walter Reed visit? The readout from his doctor mentioned advanced imaging. What procedure was?
Imaging is something that presidents receive and people receive when they go to the doctor, and so we provide a detailed readout of that physical, and I would encourage you back to that. Presidents and I don't know the exact imaging that took place, but as the physician's note said, the president is in incredibly good shape, and I think that's evidenced here every single day. Danny.
Caroline, back to the ballroom, I'm afraid. I just wanted to ask, because in July the White House said that it would cost $200 million. Yesterday the president said $300 million. Is $300 million now the operative figure, and why did it go up by so much?
$300 million is the figure, and again, it's not going to cost the taxpayers a dime. So we look forward to this project continuing, and we will continue to keep everyone apprised on it. Perhaps the president will even bring you all out to see it one day at the appropriate time. You're also going to hear from the president directly in about an hour. He's hosting an event with the Homeland Security Task Force. This was a newly created federal task force that the president and his law enforcement team have put together. I would encourage you all to tune in to the remarks. They have really done a tremendous job at refocusing how federal law enforcement and local law enforcement work together. There will be some local sheriffs and law enforcement officials in attendance as well, and they'll be talking about the success and the many arrests they have made of drug traffickers and cartel members all across the country by just simply working together. So we will see you at the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Caroline.
And we're starting up that new live stream broadcast. We'll be starting at about 2:15 for that. So we'll see you on that one in just a minute. But before you go, how many questions does the mainstream media have to ask about the ballroom? There are a million things going on around our country, very serious matters. And that's all they want is these headlines about a ballroom. You know, that's why they're called the fake news, except for the ones that are conservative media in that room there in Washington. All right, so again, at 2:15, we'll start that new live stream up in a minute. But before you go again, All Family Pharmacy, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. You may have heard of tirzepatide. It's the GLP-1 peptide making headlines for fast, effective weight loss. Well, that's one of the many biohacking products you can get from our good sponsor over there at All Family Pharmacy, because biohacking isn't just a trend. It's about feeling and performing better every day, more energy, clearer focus, faster recovery, and healthier aging, all by giving your body the right support. So All Family Pharmacy goes beyond your everyday prescriptions with proven science-backed enhancers like NAD+ for energy, focus, and longevity, Somorlin to support better sleep and muscle recovery. How about glutathione for powerful detox and immune protection? Methylene Blue for brain performance and mental clarity. And yes, Tirzepatide for weight loss. It's prescribed by a licensed doctor and shipped right to your door. So if you're ready to take your health to the next level, all you have to do is visit allfamilypharmacy.com/biohacking to get started today and use the code RSBN10 that you see there on your screen to get 10% off your order. All right, it's 2:08 Eastern. Let's go to one more sponsor, callshe.com/RSBN. You can always download the app if you'd like, or go to the website, or use that QR code. A lot of different questions on the great site there, Callshe, that you can check out. If you're going to bet, trade, or just check out the polls, so many different questions, science, weather, all sorts of stuff. Check it all out. More than 1 million users and more people adding to that number every day. Great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're about to start up our second broadcast. We're going to see the president from the state dining room. We'll have all of that coverage coming up for all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you in about, 4 minutes? See you there.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.